My name's Jeff Brown. Welcome along. And I'm responsible for the business side of the BTRM program. So anything not to do with content, BTRM content, I'm responsible for. And then Chris Westcott, who is everything to do with content, will be talking about the syllabus of the program. He's responsible for all that side of things. So what are we going to take you through today? We'll talk about the history and the evolution of the BTRM program. It's in its 10th year. It's grown significantly during that time. And I don't just mean with the number of people who enrolled. I'm talking really about the brand of the program. It's phenomenal. And the lecturers on the program has increased significantly, the quality of the lecturers as well, and the reputation of the lecturers. It is a world-renowned faculty. There are some truly world-renowned names. We'll take you through some of those names as well. So what we'll also talk about what actually is the BTRM, why it's beneficial, how it's beneficial, because the emphasis is absolutely on the applied nature of all of these topic areas within the program. You're going to be applying what you learn on the program. So we'll talk about the BTRM journey, which starts today in terms of information gathering. We'll break down the syllabus. We'll also talk about the accreditation, who accredits us, and the testimonials of people who've been through the program. We'll talk also about alumni contacts, the study partner program, really important, and the help desk. And we'll finish off with a Q&A session. We'll try to keep questions reserved for the end of the presentation. That way, it's less complicated, let's say that. But if you do have questions during the presentation, to be honest, fire away. And we'll have the Q&A at the end anyway. Okay, at this point, I'm going to hand you over to my esteemed colleague. He won't like me saying that, but he is esteemed. And this is Chris Westcott. Chris, I'm going to hand over these slides to you. We'll try with your video on. And if we've had issues with Chris's connection earlier, so Chris, we'll try with your video on. If we're not able to hear you, if things go a little bit awry, then we'll turn your video off and hope that works better.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I'm just double checking that I can move these things.
If you page down, I think if you page down.
Yeah, okay. All right, got it. Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody. Hi, my name's Chris Westcott. I'll run you through the next 15 or so slides. I'm the head of faculty at BTRM, and my job, as Jeff said, is to run through the program just so that you understand a little bit about me, so you can put me in context of what I talk about. I spent about 30 years working in bank treasury functions, and then around about or just under 10 years ago, I switched into education, and I'm now a university lecturer. But I still teach industry courses, of which BTRM is one. So looking at this slide, one of the observations that we had back in 2014 was that there were educational opportunities like Association of Corporate Treasurers. So for Treasury type people, however, with their corporate focus, they didn't quite fit bank treasurers. And as we looked around, we found there's not actually that much on the market. So that's where BTRM came from. And as you can see on this slide, it was a collaboration between Moorad Choudhry and a group called World Business Strategies. Anyway, we kicked off in 2014, and we're now currently working through cohort 17. So we've taught the program 16.5 times, and we're here tonight to talk about cohort 18. As well as the teaching side and the certification, if you look at the picture at the bottom of the page, we have gradually been getting involved in a variety of other things as well. So approximately every 2 years, we have a conference in London that will appear in a few places. And also we've gradually expanded our reach such that now we would claim to be truly global. And I'll show you something on that in a minute. We also, as well as teaching the program, have been involved in a magazine called ALCO, which you can see if you look at April 2018. We've been involved with that since then. And also, if you just look slightly earlier, I think it says January 2018. My eyesight's not so good, but we publish Treasury articles to help people, and these are independent of the program or the talk program, and you can see there we started doing that in January 2018. So the overall message is there are a variety of strings to our bow. The main one is the teaching programs, and we are in or soon to enter cohort 18. What it's about? Well, it's a 6-month course. It looks at all parts of Treasury, and I'll run through the syllabus in a little bit. The key thing about this is you will often have educators, and then you'll have practitioners. And very rarely do educators and practitioners come together. And that is the beauty of this program, because it is predominantly led by practitioners. So people who are currently in the industry in one form or another. And a lot of these people are senior in the industry and well established in their roles. So as such, we like to think it's got a lot of practical relevance. So whatever the issues of the day are, we will have people within the BTRM faculty thinking about those issues. And in that respect, we feel it's unique because the other alternatives to BTRM don't have that focus on the practical side quite as much as we do. So the benefits of BTRM. At the end of the program, the certification that's issued, assuming you pass, is graduate level. The program, as I mentioned, is 6 months, so we do 2 cohorts a year. There's a variety of ways of accessing the teaching, so it is possible to come to the lectures face-to-face, but I'm afraid that you need to be in London for that. They're all streamed, similar to what we're doing now, but also we record everything, so all the lectures can be accessed afterwards as well. Third point down, it's just stressing again the practitioner-oriented aspect of this, because it's taught by people who are working in the industry. It's focused on the issues that they are facing. I'm sure we'll mention it later, but one of the things that we operate is we have a forum for, well, we have a variety of forums, but all of the people who are involved in a particular cohort are part of a forum. And then also once people have qualified, they're also part of an online forum, which means that they can throw questions in at any time and they will receive answers from market practitioners. So maybe people who've experienced the same issue in their own careers, or feel they're able to give some advice. And hence that links me to the next point. A lot of the people who are involved in the teaching have been working in the industry for maybe 10 to 30 years. So they are specialists in their field. There's a huge amount of knowledge and experience there, which we are offering to you to try and help you. And also it doesn't end when once you've taken exams and hopefully passed. We have links with alumni and access to all of the materials we post, as well as to the forum that I mentioned a moment ago. We are linked with the University of Applied Sciences and Arts in Northwestern Switzerland. So once you graduate, you become a graduate of this university. In the past, we were linked with Kent University in the UK, but now we're linked with this one. And one of the key benefits of being linked with this university is that, like us, it's a teaching establishment that wants to get closer to business and business decisions, as opposed to many teaching establishments that are focused on the educational side of things and not on the practical day-to-day issues that people in the industry are facing. So as you can see at the bottom there, we like to think our philosophy is very similar to this university's. So our faculty, and apologies, these pictures are small, but in summary, we have in the region of around 20 lecturers. And often on any particular subject, we will often field more than one lecturer. And the reason for that is, as I'm sure if you cast your mind back to your own education, you will have found some lecturers that you really warmed to and you liked, and others that you found really difficult to understand. So what we tend to do is, on some of the key subjects, we may have more than one person talking about them. They're not going to talk about exactly the same thing, but they're going to give you a slightly different perspective. And then that way you may find that some of the 20 you find much easier to work with than some of the others. So hopefully in that way you get the best of both worlds. So in terms of how many candidates we've had, we've got some information at the top of the page there. So you can see we've gradually been growing and we're in the region of 200 or so a year. So that will be around about 100 on each cohort. In terms of who, well, I think there's a variety of different roles that could benefit from this course. Obviously, if you work in Treasury, it's a big opportunity to benefit. And one thing, if any of you are quite new to the Treasury world, then what tends to happen is you come into that part of your organization and you learn one of the jobs very well, maybe liquidity or capital management as examples. or funding, or securitization, and so on. So lots of different possibilities. But what happens, you become an expert in one area, but you don't really know anything about any of the other areas. And the beauty about asset and liability management or Treasury is the fact that everything is interlinked. So if you make a decision that affects your funding, it probably has an implication for your liquidity position and your capital adequacy as well. It may not be direct, it may be indirect. So one of the huge benefits, if you're new to the Treasury or asset and liability management area, by taking this course, it gives you an appreciation of the whole, which you would not otherwise get. So obviously people in the industry, in Treasury, it's good for them, and we've listed a variety of possible positions here, but also this course can work for people who are linked to Treasury but not directly. So for example, they may come from a broader risk management perspective, of which Treasury is a small part of their role. They may come from regulators or central banks. They may also come from specialists in AI or software technology type companies, because for these guys to work up their products, they need to understand how Treasury works. So we're quite a broad church in terms of people who are suitable for this course. And in terms of academic backgrounds, there's quite a few possibilities. Obviously, the favourites would be economics or mathematics or business studies, but there's plenty of others as well. So you should not feel confined to have a background in one of those three. Here's our profile of where all the students have come from. So certainly all the continents. 80% of our students are outside of the UK. So of the 700 or 800 who've studied so far, as a guess, by the way, that's not an exact number, but we're probably 650 outside the UK, that kind of number. And as you can see, we have now reached students from around 60 countries. Here's a list of some of the institutions that have participated in the course. There will be, I think, what strikes me when I look at this, quite a few of these institutions I've heard of, so they're big organisations within their countries. But there's a few that I haven't heard of, so there's smaller organisations within the countries, but you will also see on there the regulators, such as the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. I'm fairly sure the Bank of England's on there somewhere. There's so many I can't see it, but and then if we look on the right-hand side, we've got SunGard, which is SunGard Systems, so a technology company. We've got PwC, obviously a firm of accountants who will be giving a lot of advice to banks, so they feel it's useful for them to be close to this course as well. And then obviously we've got some very big banks like Barclays and Rabobank and Standard Chartered, etc. So a very broad range. How does the journey work on BTRM? Well, it kicks off tonight, where we're just communicating to you how the course works overall and answering any of your questions. If you like what you hear, there's an online registration form, and we will, if you apply, we will get back to you within three days. Once all that's sorted out and you're signed up, we will run a primer at the beginning of the course, and that's to try and get people who are less familiar with Treasury up to a comparable level to everybody else, so they know some of the key terms that they may not have otherwise been aware of. You'll also get a full set of course materials and some textbooks before the start of the program. Once the program itself kicks off, there's 5 modules, and they're not all the same in terms of length. Some are a bit longer than others. I think there's 26. There may be a few A and B modules, but I said modules, I actually mean taught sessions. So there's a few more than 26 split across 5 modules. So some may have 6 or 7 in, and others may have 4 in. At the end of each module, there is an online test, but this is not too scary. It's multiple choice. The pass mark, I think it's not on here, but I think for the multiple choice it's 50%, and this is just to ensure that you've picked up the basic learning in the area, and the idea is you need to have passed all 5 of the online tests, which ultimately in themselves are not credit bearing, but once you've done that, you're then eligible to sit the 3-hour exam at the end of the course. That has a 60% pass mark, and any student scoring 80% or above can pass with distinction. We have some certifications and accreditations, one with the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment. So a link with these guys, and obviously that Chartered Institute is keen to see continuous professional development, and I guess they see the course that we operate as CPD. We're also accredited by the American Bankers Association. As it says here, this can support the professional credits required. When you see the online application forms, etc., there are plenty of testimonials from students who've studied on the program, and I think if you have a flick through those, you'll get an overall feeling of what we're about and how we deliver the lectures. Our intention is they are practical, and there is certainly an element of two-way exchange through the lectures. And there is, like we have tonight, there's a chat facility, and if a lecturer is going over a particular point and you either don't understand it, or you're not sure, or you want them to repeat it, or you have a question, you can raise that on the chat facility at the time, and they will run through that. So there's a few testimonials here, which you can also see on our course brochure. Okay. In terms of the program delivery, I mentioned the online forum that you could see there. So once people have signed up for a particular cohort, they become part of the forum for that cohort. And the beauty of that is that if a lecturer has maybe gone over something too quickly or something you didn't understand, having listened back to the material that's published, you have direct access to your lecturer and you can ask them questions. We normally work to within 48 hours. So if you ask a question from anywhere across the world, we will get back to you within 48 hours with an answer. Obviously, there's the live lectures that I've mentioned. So I'm going to say 26 plus of these because some weeks we have more than one lecture and the program runs for 26 weeks. All the materials are recorded, so can be accessed afterwards, and obviously you can access all of the slides that we use. We like to concentrate on real-world examples, so a lot of things that have gone wrong over the years in connection with Treasury risk will be things that we will concentrate on. So, for example, the bank failures in the US within the last 6 months or so, we will spend part of the program looking at those failures, what went wrong, and how organizations can avoid them in the future. We issue sample templates and spreadsheets, so it's possible that you may be able to adapt those and use them within your organizations. Also, we have ad hoc webinars with material issues of the day and a library that you are able to access. Just going into a little bit more depth on the syllabus. So you'll see there the 5 modules, and after each module you sit the online multiple choice test, and having passed all of those, you're then eligible to go for the written exam. And then if you so choose, there is a diploma module as well, and students can prepare a dissertation to, should we say, improve from BTRM certification to a BTRM diploma. Just running through each of those modules in a little bit more detail to give you a feel for what we cover. So module 1 is on bank balance sheet risk management and covers some basics around the balance sheet and balance sheet optimization, brings us completely up to date on the Basel rules for capital and liquidity, and introduces some basic concepts around hedging, both from a money market perspective, but also from an interest rate risk management perspective. And we also talk about the implications of some of the accounting rules here as well. Module 2 is on the operating model and risk management governance. There are many organizations that don't follow best practice here. So we run through the target operating model, reporting lines, etc., ALCO terms of reference. Also, we consider the credit risk side, loan loss provisioning policy, and how asset liability management is integrated as part of the whole, and how it integrates into ERM stress testing. Then in module 3, we bring in the financial markets, So here we're talking about capital raising, maybe tier 1 or tier 2, securitization, as well as at the bottom, the whole investor relations and credit rating process, and penultimately recovery planning and resolution planning for banks that get into difficulty. Module 4 is on all aspects of liquidity risk management, covering the basic liquidity risk management framework, risk metrics and limits, liability strategy, funds transfer pricing, and then the whole stress testing and collateral management side. And then finally, Module 5 is on capital management, and here we talk about capital structure and planning, capital strategy, and then our last lecture of the whole course is on policy documentation and the importance of policies. There are a number of textbooks that you receive if you sign up. These are listed here. The thing that stands out most to me is all of these have been written by faculty members. So obviously Professor Choudhry, who I mentioned before, but the others listed here, Michael Icahn, Beata Lubinska, and Polina Bardeva. Apologies, Polina, if she was here. I couldn't recall her first name immediately, but there's a broad range of expert views in all of these textbooks which you receive. Okay, Jeff, do I go back to you now?
Yes, indeed. So, thank you very much, Chris. Incredibly calm and eloquent presentation. Thanks very, very much. That was great. So I think this is extremely important. I have to say that I joined this organization back in September, and I made it my priority. The big campaign when I joined was to get in touch with every single person who had completed the program to find out what their feedback was. And it was thrilling. It is thrilling because honestly, it was almost unanimous, the feedback on the program. Everyone said that it was incredibly useful for the roles that they were occupying within Treasury, in particular ALM, balance sheet management. And they were raving about the program. And one of the reasons why I discovered, particularly this year, is that the forum is so active. And on the forum, you can ask questions. If there's any concepts that you're finding difficult to understand, you can ask questions on the forum. But also, there's a lot of discussion on the forum between everybody who's enrolled onto the program. It's incredibly active, so it's a great kind of learning tool. But the alumni have been so praiseworthy about the program. It's just a thrilling product to work with. We have a lot of additional events also, as Chris mentioned. So when the Silicon Valley Bank episode happened, we ran an event fairly quickly after that, actually, and it was a discursive event. And there were over 500 people who attended that, which was just incredible. So there's a lot of lifelong learning lectures as well. So it's not just about the program, it's also about all the additional lectures that happen. Whenever there's an event that takes place, we run a lecture, we run debates as well. So what's all that got to do with this slide? Well, look, it's just, this is what all the alumni have access to. You have access to all future programs as well. They're always being updated with syllabus updates and so on. So we strongly recommend that in order to, this is really your purpose, I guess, is to find out as much as possible about the BTRM program in order to make an informed decision as to whether or not to enroll. One of the best ways to do that is to get in touch with alumni, either from your organization or from your country or region, or for those who are working in similar roles to the roles that you're currently working in. So either or, if you send me an email, I will put you in. I will gladly put you in touch, because I think that, and it'll be, you know, random, genuinely random alumni that I'll send through to you. Okay, so if you say I'd like to get in touch with alumni from South Africa, I will send you a list of names and email addresses from alumni from South Africa, in all confidence that they all liked the program. So there's not going to be any kind of calling them or contacting them, nothing of the sort. This is going to be just a very straightforward. You want to get in touch with people from Standard Chartered who've done the program, we'll send you a list of people from Standard Chartered who have done the program. Okay. The study partner program is incredibly effective if you enjoy studying with somebody else. So again, if you want to study with somebody from your organization, if you want to study from somebody from your region, or somebody studying in a similar role, or in a role that you want to move into, then let me know, and or let us know, I should say. And this is something that would potentially need a little bit more work in terms of, you know, if you want to study with somebody who's working in a similar role, we need to do a little bit of scraping around to find out who is working in a similar role. But for somebody studying in the same organization, if there is in the October cohort somebody studying from your organization, great if you can study together. It makes for, it's incredibly, well, I think, an incredibly enjoyable experience when you're studying together and learning together and exchanging ideas together and so on. The support desk is very comprehensive. We have, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, we have people studying from all over the world. This is a globally streamed program. So there's no focus on one region. Every region is treated equally. And it's incredibly comprehensive. So if you come through with any particular questions, whether it's to do with your studies, whether it's to do with something else, if you're having any issues at all, then we will support you. And the response time is very prompt. We say within 24 hours, it's usually quicker than that. So it is very comprehensive. Okay, I think that I hope that you've got a really thorough overview, not only of the program itself, the 6 months, the 5 modules, and all the content associated with the program. And I hope you've got a flavor also of the applied nature of the program, because that's emphatic. This is what the program's been designed for, is to help people in their roles within the banking sector. Okay, there are consultancies as well, incidentally. So your EYs, KPMGs, they find this very useful too. But primarily, this is for people working in banks. So honestly, if there's anybody who's not working in a bank or in a consultancy firm, and you're looking to do this, this may not be for you. That's the truth. So, any questions? Feel free to use the chat box. And, well, we'll do what we can to help answer those questions. There's usually questions. Yes.
Sorry, Jeff Faisal raised his hand. So I, as far as I'm concerned, we can take the question in any form that works. If Faisal can unmute himself, he's happy to talk, or he can put it in the chat box, whatever works best.
Sure.
So Faisal, use one of those two.
You can
the level of detail.
So Chris, I just wanted to ask, to what details do you go? Is it like a beginner level program or a middle level or an advanced level program? Because at the ALM level there can be multiple levels at which you teach.
Okay, so certainly, Faisal, I'm going to speak in particular about the 6 or 7 sessions that I deliver as part of the program. And I would say my objective is, I think, to concentrate mainly on what I'd say are the principles at stake. So me personally, I've never reacted well to a very, very long mathematical formulae. There may be a few mathematical formulae which hint at a bit more detail, but my objective is to cover the principles, because if you're managing your position in a bank or something, or you're trying to consult or any of those things, if you understand the principles, you can always apply the principles. Certainly, most aspects are not going to go into the real depths of the mechanics. I can't say that the odd one won't, but their main focus, certainly on everything I'm involved with, is on those key principles, high-level principles, so another way of saying that is you do not need to be an expert in the subject to understand the high-level principles.
I think also, just to add to that, Faisal, this is what some of the feedback that came through from alumni is that what you cover on this program is it's an enormous breadth of topic areas within Treasury, if you like, ALM. And I would suggest that if you were, let's say, at an interview, or just speaking to the desk head, Treasury desk head of Treasury at Morgan Stanley, let's say, and you've just completed this program, from what I could gauge of the feedback from alumni, you would know more on this topic area than the desk head working at a bank, because they have somewhat narrow parameters, because there are certain ways that they do things on that desk and working for the organization as a whole. And I think that with this program, you learn everything. We do
but Jeff, at the should we say everything from the top down level rather than the bottom up level? So in terms of Faisal's question, we're not kind of working our way through the weeds every week. We're doing it from the top down. What are the key principles? How do we apply them? If that's okay.
And I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's how we apply them that makes the program what it is.
Okay. I can see, Jeff, there's quite a few questions, so we probably need to cover those off quickly. Faisal, I'm hoping that gives you an idea or a feeling. If not, Jeff will give you some details, and we're very happy to do follow-up questions after this.
Breakdown of the syllabus is in the brochure as well, incidentally, so that should give you some more idea.
Yeah.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, so the question on the dissertation, Sahal. Sahal, I'm going to give you a high-level answer here because I did supervise and act as joint marker on one of these dissertations, and it was on a subject of relevance today. It wasn't as long as the dissertations I see at the university. we will have to double check this, and Jeff, I'd be grateful if you could make a note of this so we can follow up with Sahal, but I'm thinking 5 to 10,000 words dissertation as opposed to any longer, and it looked like a university dissertation, except with the biggest, or the two biggest differences. One, it was on a specific Treasury area that was relevant to today, and comparing it to a university dissertation, obviously it's got more of a practical focus than so I like to view it as pushing the boundaries within the practical world, as opposed to something that you might do at university, which is a little bit more, a bit closer on the theoretical world. And so I'll just so these don't all run off the screen. And Jeff, we will need to follow up on these, but my belief is that yes, there are practice exams. Certainly, there's past questions made available to students.
I've made a note of all of these questions and who they're from as well. So, Sahal, I'll come back to you specifically on this.
Okay, thank you. The next one from Hubert on Basel 3 and 4. So we have a specific lecture on the Basel changes. It does cover the combination of Basel 3, but also the final form amendments that are working their way through now. It obviously, because most of the teaching staff come from the UK, I know we said it's got practical relevance everywhere, which it has, because Basel, for example, is a global set of regulations. There are always nuances in different jurisdictions, and we will speak about the nuances in the UK, because most but not all of the lecturers come from the UK. So going on to Amin, the question about the London lectures. So normally, we're not tonight, but normally the presentation staff and the technology support are all in the same room, which at the moment has, I'm saying at the moment because occasionally these things change, but it's in Canary Wharf in the City of London, in one of the towers there. 1 Canada Square, I think, on the 39th floor. So you get a good view if you turn up. So that's where the students are physically present at the moment for the London-based one. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, just so, I mean, on this one, as the course progresses over the 6 months, we have less and less people attending live in London anyway. Normally the opening week, all those who enroll from London, they attend live, but then by the end there's nobody there. And what we have in London in Canary Wharf is the technical headquarters, if you like. But the lecturers, they don't necessarily lecture from that office, so they can be lecturing from South America. They can be lecturing from the Netherlands, from London. So that's what I meant by it being a genuinely sort of globally.
Okay. But Jeff, on that point, if we know students are keen to come in, then there will certainly be, on balance, I would suggest, significantly more than half will have a physical presence in London, and yes, an online student can attend physically in London, although, Sahal, just taking into account Jeff's comment, it's worth having at least linking in with the administration team to work out whether the expectation is that the lecturer in 2 weeks' time, for example, when you want to come, isn't Polina, who's based in, well, the last known, she was based in Austria, and so, you know, may not come over, or probably won't come over these days. So yes, it's fine. I know quite often we do 2 mini lectures in an evening, and when we do those, I try to attend everything in the London office, and more often than not, my co-lecturer is also there. So I would say 60 to 70% are physically done from Canary Wharf, but you want to understand that before you make an attempt to come and then discover it's the week where we've got somebody from Austria or somewhere else doing the presentation.
Chris, just on that one, sure, the most of the lectures are delivered from London, but in terms of course attendees, for the cohort beginning in April, there was less than 20% of the overall number of enrolments came from the UK. So over 80% of people came from abroad.
No, I fully understand that. All I'm saying is that because and certainly a number of the lecturers go to the technical hub to deliver, whether there's students face to face in the room or online.
Sure. Okay. Can an online student attend a class or 2 physically in London? Sorry, you've answered that. Yep,
yes.
No problem. You're more than welcome to attend. These are my 2 email addresses. If anybody wants to call me for a further discussion, you can do so on that number and this number.
So Ibrahim, that's a great question about the exams. They are written and the student does not have to be physically present. I think, though, to break that down a bit further, as far as I'm aware, if you're in the UK, we push for physical presence. If you're outside the UK, you use a moderation system called Exam Proctor, where basically you switch your phone on and that tracks everything you do. So you're remotely invigilated, and you have to do the exam between certain times and there is a little bit of flexibility if you're overseas, because we're not going to get you to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Andre Louise, so this is, it is possible to do the whole program and the exams 100% online. We have a lot of alumni from Brazil. So if you want to get in touch with anybody from Brazil who's enrolled onto the program, send me an email and I'll send you details of alumni from Brazil. Pleasure.
Okay. So hopefully, guys, you've got everything you need. You've obviously got Jeff's contact details if you've got any further follow-up questions. Thank you all for listening, and have a good rest of day, however long that is for you.
Thanks a lot for attending, everyone. I hope you found this useful. And again, if any other questions pop up in the coming hours and days and weeks and so on, let me know, and I'll do what I can to answer them. Many thanks.